Hey there folks, I'm the Shades and welcome again to Shades' Soapbox. So right now we're currently in full swing in the middle of E3 2018, the Electronic Entertainment Expo. And oh boy, I'm gonna be completely honest, this was a rather disappointing year. Yeah, quite a few of the press conferences from this year's E3 were quite frankly piss poor at best. Let's run it down, shall we? Starting right off on a bad foot is good old EA. Oh, EA. I'd ask what's happened to you, but quite frankly we all know. You've kind of already proven that you're quite frankly one of the most despicable gaming companies in the entire industry. You know, a lot of my friends were freaking the fuck out over a lot of the announcements made during the EA panel, and my only reaction, especially to like Command & Conquer Rivals, was simply, oh look, EA is ruining another one of our favorite franchises. This is my surprised face. Come on people, we should expect this by now. It's EA, it's what they do. Sorry, but just no. Anthem didn't even look that appealing, that new game that they're announcing. It looked like a very generic mech shooter or mech adventure platformer. I don't even know what the fuck it is. It's just, it looked generic to me. Really, I didn't care for it, and I don't think many others did either. Bounce back, and we've got Microsoft up next, which many argue was probably one of the better conferences of the event this year. Now, I haven't seen much of the Microsoft event myself. I'm not a Microsoft fan. I really could care less. So forgive me for all you Xbox fanboys out there. You're not gonna win me over. Trust me, it's just not gonna happen. However, I did come across the trailer they showed that did grab my attention, and being the anime fan I am, it should come as no surprise. Jump Force, a Shonen Jump crossover fighting game, 3D fighter more specifically, compared to a lot of its previous things. I'm actually kind of intrigued by this one. It kind of reminds me of a lot of the DBZ fighting games that have come out, but it's a lot more darker of a tone. Like, it really felt like Shonen Jump meets Injustice. That's literally the vibe I was getting. You know, the characters are still the same characters, it's just the setting, like the stages that you find in look very much decrepit and broken, and it looks like a dystopian type thing, very much like what you would see in an Injustice game. But the fighting style, and of course, they reveal some of the characters. I mean, you've got Naruto, you've got Goku, you've got Luffy, and you've got Frieza. We've also later learned that characters like Sasuke and Zoro in there, and surprisingly, Light and Ryuk from Death Note. Okay, Ryuk, you could probably argue could fit into a game like this. I mean, he's a freaking demon, man. But Light? Light Yagami? How the fuck are you gonna make that work? Based on every anime he's ever in, and he can only do one move, and quite frankly, it's a one-hit KO. Don't ask me on that one. I have no fucking clue. Nonetheless, if you were a Microsoft fan, I'm sure you enjoyed Microsoft's performance. Not too bad. Next up is Bethesda, and Bethesda was kind of 50-50 for me. On the one hand, a lot of the trailers and reveals were expected and quite frankly disappointing. I mean, we already knew about Fallout 76, not a big shock there. The only real big announcement was a tease of Elder Scrolls 6, which we kind of knew was coming. However, I have to also give Bethesda a little bit of credit, because Bethesda is a company who understands the joke that's being made at them. Because of all the different editions of Skyrim that have come out over the years, it's been a running gag that, you know, Skyrim for the Etch-a-Sketch, Skyrim from the Apple II PC, you know, Skyrim for all these different things that you would never possibly be able to run Skyrim. It's been a running gag for years. So Bethesda decided to pull a, you know what, we get it, kind of move. Talking about Skyrim Very Special Edition, a comedy sketch where they have Skyrim on Alexa, and they had Keegan-Michael Key doing the skit with it. And I think that really helped, because he's a very good comedian, honestly. I've seen a couple of his stuff. I've seen him on John Oliver, a very funny guy. And then, of course, you know, Skyrim on a smart fridge, and open it up, and all of a sudden, ice cubes fall out. Like, oh, that's cool. No joke. That skit broke my wife. Lady K completely lost her shit watching that skit. It broke her hard. So, very good job, Bethesda. I'll give you credit. Anyone, if you're willing to make fun of yourself, obviously you have learned. So, credit where credit is due. Next up is Square Enix. The only good thing really come out of it was, of course, more info on Kingdom Hearts, which didn't even really come out until Sony's press conference, really. So we'll get to that later, which kind of bogged me. I mean, I understand that, you know, Kingdom Hearts 3 is mostly a PlayStation exclusive for the most part, but, you know, this kind of, it's your biggest property right now. I mean, Final Fantasy 15's kind of been running its course, and you don't really have any major other games coming out right now, so you might want to focus on the one big one that everyone's waiting for, make that your big moment. But nonetheless, yeah, kind of disappointing. We'll have to come back to Kingdom Hearts in the Sony press conference, but otherwise, not much there. Ubisoft, I honestly could care less. I mean, don't get me wrong, Ubisoft has some good game lineups. They are not the absolute worst, but they are up there, and I honestly could care less. And I didn't really hear much at the Ubisoft conference that really jumped at me, so stuff like that. PC Gaming Show, I didn't actually see this one myself either, but I did hear of a couple good things. I know there's a Cuphead DLC coming out that is actually pretty interesting. I am a huge Cuphead fan. I haven't, I'm not very good at it, admittedly, but I enjoy the games, and I'm interested to see what the DLC has to offer, especially with a new character, Miss Chalice, taking the legendary Chalice that we saw in the original game and turning him into a playable character. I think that'll make some of our female fans happy, can get some gender equality up in here. But other than that, I didn't really see much. I'll probably be looking at more trailers as it goes on and give my thoughts on it. Sony, good old Sony. Yeah, again, most of the Sony press conference was kind of disappointing, especially in the presentation department. Not much to really reveal. Even some of my fellow Sony fanboys were calling it a complete failure. My buddy Fighter Cows over the Geek Fighters is a huge Sony fanboy, and even he said this was complete trash. So, Sony, you failed again. The only good thing to come out of it was another trailer for Kingdom Hearts 3, where we see that we're going to be visiting the land of the pirates once again. Why is there always go? Always love doing that line. But nonetheless, and of course we do finally have a release date. January of next year, about goddamn time. We finally have a locked-in date. I really hope that all of this wait and all of this build-up, all this hype is worth it, because I really fear that Square Enix may have burned us out here. Like, I'm still interested in getting Kingdom Hearts 3. I still will probably end up getting it. It's just, can they really live up to the amount of hype that they've built for this game, considering all of the spin-offs, all of the build-up, all of reveals, everything that they've built up for this game? Can they live up to that hype? I really don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But outside of that, Sony was, quite frankly, meh. And that just leaves Nintendo. And of course, this is where my fanboyism steps in. Now, even setting my fanboyism for Nintendo aside, I think it's at least a tie between Microsoft and Nintendo for who had the better press conference. Or, in Nintendo's case, Nintendo Direct, but still, point still stands. And I think what it comes down to is, Nintendo especially knows that in order to appease your shareholders, the shareholders have to think that people want to buy their products. That's where the money comes from. So Nintendo says, screw trying to show off something to press shareholders directly when they could care less. Instead, let's make sure the fans are happy, or at least as happy as we can make them, and then they'll be interested, and the shareholders are like, okay, looks like you guys are doing your job. So Nintendo came right out swinging with a brand new game, Demon X Machina. Looked alright. Not too bad. And of course, I'm a big fan of Xenoblade Chronicles, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. New DLC coming out for that. Prequel story focusing on the original history that led up to the game. A lot of the stuff that took place in the past that was described in flashbacks and stuff like that. Really interested to see how that plays out. Of course, DBZ Fighters or Dragon Ball Fighter Z coming to the Switch, finally. Nice. Fortnite, no surprise there, out for the Switch. I had to see if I could set that up. But of course, you talk about all the other games and stuff like that and coming on. There's a lot of great games coming that I'm interested in. But of course, Nintendo knew where the money shot was. Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. A lot of the complaints that a lot of people had with Smash 4 for 3DS and Wii U is there was a lot of characters they wanted to see and a lot of characters they wanted to come back from previous games. So, Masahiro Sakurai just basically said, you know what? Screw it. They're all coming back. No exception. Everyone's coming in. This is going to be the definitive Smash Brothers game, because every character that has ever been in Smash coming back, this brand new game with tweaked gameplay elements, really cool stuff. The one thing I really liked about this was that a lot of the Final Smashes have been tweaked, and one of my biggest complaints about Final Smashes has always been the ones where you have to control them directly, where you have to, like Super Sonic, when you fly around, you literally have to control him with a stick, and he flies around like a madman, or stuff like Wario Man, where basically Wario turns into that superhero thing and he's just a regular fighter. It's not really that much of a superpower. It was Final Smash. It was some kind of pathetic. They have tweaked all of them so that aside from maybe aiming a single attack, most of these Final Smashes are literally just hit the attack, hit the smash button, and it goes to town for you. There's a few certain ones like Giga Bowser where you have to aim the punch, but once you attack, that's it. You don't have to do anything else. And I think that's really going to be good. I think it's going to create some competitive gameplay on that. A lot of different tweaks, especially for the pro gamers. They've got percentage numbers that are now in decimals, which is interesting. Of course, they've changed a lot of the Final Smashes as well in terms of adding new stuff. For NES and Lucas, they have their respective characters from their games joining them in their final Smash. Ness, you get Paula and Pooh. Lucas, you get Kumatora and Bodhi, which is actually kind of cute. I love that. And of course, there are 2 new characters introduced in this game. Well, 3 technically. One of them is an Echo character, which they are calling their clone characters. Echo characters. Dr. Mario is kind of an echo of Mario. That's an Echo character. So Peach is now getting an Echo character. Daisy! Finally, Daisy is in Smash, and she's going to be a bit of a clone of Peach. I mean, there are going to be some slight differences, but for the most part, it's pretty much the same kind of gameplay, which I'm fine with. You know, there really isn't any way to differentiate the 2 princesses outside of a few things here and there, so I'm okay with that. But there are 2 brand new from the ground up characters that are introduced. The first one is the one they teased way back when they first teased this new Smash Brothers, and that is, of course, the Inklings from Splatoon. And I'm interested in the gameplay. I think it's going to be pretty cool having them have their ink counter be a part of the gameplay. You can ink your opponents and cause them to take more damage, but also you can run out of ink and you have to refill it. Not sure if having to have a certain button combination just to do that is going to be a good idea, but we'll see. Maybe they'll fix that up. And of course, the other new character, they teased this one all the way up to the end, and it has been one that I know fans have been clamoring for years to be in Smash, probably since at least Melee, and that is the giant dragon of the Metroid franchise himself, Ridley. Ridley is finally coming to Smash, and it has got, I'm sure a lot of fans freaked the hell out when that finally dropped. It's interesting, and I think they actually did a pretty good job. I mean, they've got him kind of hunched over, and he's not exactly standing tall. I mean, he's still somewhat large, but he's not overpoweringly so, and like having him hunched over kind of helps him fit into the battlefield without taking up too much screen. So I think they handled it pretty well, and he's got some pretty devastating attacks, some pretty good moves. His final Smash looks badass, knocking them onto the Samus's gunship, and then blasting out of the sky. I thought that was really badass, so very well handled there. Overall, I personally think Nintendo had the better conference, but I will not sit here and say that they were the only one that had a good one. Microsoft apparently did a really good job as well. It's really debatable which of the 2 is the best of the conference, so I'm not going to sit here and pick a winner of this one because it'd be unfair. But outside of those 2, E3 this year has been very disappointing, and I think a lot of the problem is that a lot of these companies don't realize that building up that hype is still a very important thing to do. So I'm hoping that a lot of these companies will pick their heads out of their asses and get back to giving us some good stuff next year. But nonetheless, there's still at least a few things to look forward to. I'm enjoying it. But that is going to do it for me here today, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought about E3 this year down in the comments below. And of course, if you have any suggestions for Soapbox topics you'd like for me to do in the future, post them down there as well. I'll take a look and see what I can do. And of course, in the description, make sure you check out a link to my Patreon page. Always looking for some more support. Shout out to my patron Solo Star for your support. Always appreciated, my friend. In the meantime, I want to thank you guys for joining me as always here in the Soapbox. I'm the Shades, and we'll see you guys next time. Rock on!